We meet in our church.
Okay. Hello and happy Sabbath again. It has occurred to me that if all of us sit closer together, there's more effect. In the sense that we are warmer and we feel more connected to one another. Let us not be scattered. So those of you in the back, if you can come, if everybody could come 3 seats forward, that will really help. I don't see anybody moving. Could we please come forward a little bit? Everybody, 3, 4, 5 seats forward so we'll be closer together. Okay? We want to especially welcome our visitors, and we have a large group from the Deaf Church, and that's exciting. So we all can fellowship together. Okay? So we'll begin our singing with 369. 369. Since this is all about witnessing, we want to get that theme going. 369. Sowing in the morning, sowing seeds of kindness, sowing in the noontide and the dewy eve, waiting for the harvest and the time of reaping, we shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, we shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, we shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Sowing in the sunshine, sowing in the shadows, fearing neither clouds nor winter's chilling breeze. By and by the harvest and the labor ended, we shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Sing it, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Going forth with weeping, sowing for the Master, through the losses laid, our spirit often grieves. When our weeping's over, He will bid us welcome. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, yes, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. So we are searching for a song. 284. 284.
I don't know this one.
So we don't know that one.
Sorry,
So-
but I will learn it. Who requested it?
Who requested it?
Okay.
Okay, so can you come?
Oh, I
Good.
didn't know now, but.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'll put you out there since.
I have a Savior, He's pleading in glory, a dear, loving Savior, though earth friends be few, and now He
stanza. When Jesus
has found you, tell others the story that my loving Savior is your Savior too. Then pray that your Savior will bring them to glory, and prayer will be answered, will answered for you. For you, I am praying. For you, I am praying. For you, I am praying. I'm praying for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. One quick announcement. We have a Lexus with Minnesota license plates. It's raining out and the windows are down. Okay, so please, whoever you are, I guess the person isn't in here, but just pass the message along. Fourth, okay, one more song. One more song. 432. 432. Shall we gather at the river where bright angels' feet have trod, with its crystal tide forever flowing by the throne of God? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. On the margin of the river, washing up its silver spray, we will walk and worship ever all the happy golden days. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. Ere we reach the shining river, lay we all the burden down. Grace our spirits will deliver and provide a robe and crown. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. 1 second, please. Can everyone stand? Because this is our opening song. Soon we'll reach the shining river. Soon our pilgrimage will cease. Soon our happy hearts will quiver with the melody of peace. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. Amen. Shall we bow our heads for prayer? Heavenly Father, it is indeed a pleasure, Lord, to come again into your presence. Father, we thank you so much for your abundance that you've given us. We thank you so much for keeping us through another week. You have brought us on our way. And now, dear fathers, we are about to enter into our second session for the day. We pray that you will bless. Show up, O Lord, as only you know how to, Lord, in the hearts of your people. that we might learn to serve you and evangelize this world for you, that it might be said of us, we have finished the work, O Lord. Bless our speaker for the hour, and give him your words, O Lord, and may they impress upon his heart as well as ours, dear Father. What are the next steps we ought to be taking, Father? In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Want to welcome you all again this afternoon. And we are so happy, especially like Donna said, to have our brothers and sisters from the deaf church that have been meeting with us. They're part of our congregation. And you know, I could not help but notice their faces as they were singing, and our people, as we were singing. I mean, they were into the song with expressions and joyful, absolutely amazing to look at their faces as they were singing the song. And it's such a thrill and inspiration that they are with us today, this afternoon. And I'm going to have to do the introduction again because they were not here last evening and also this morning when I introduced Elder Kamil Metz. So for their benefit, I'm going to give a little bit of the introduction again. And what he shared with us in his bio is he grew up, Kamil Metz grew up in communist Czechoslovakia in the home of a communist father and a Seventh-day Adventist mother. Though religion was not allowed in the home, his mother secretly gave her 7 children the spiritual training she desired for each of them. In secret, they met morning and evening for family worship. Sneaking off to the church on Sabbath became a source of social and spiritual support for this mother and her children. His family endured Sabbath issues with his father and the local schools, times when there was no food, and the time that his mother was given a prognosis of 2 weeks to live. In 2006, the Czech national television featured a 30-minute program of his mother's faith journey entitled Answered Prayers on their Faith segment. By the way, if you look in your quarterly, May 4, the Friday evening they have a mission story. You will read in full that particular story. And you can't tell me it is a coincidence that months ago when we invited Pastor Kamil to come here, he came this weekend, and this is the same evening when he gave the presentation that his mother's story was featured. Now that is the divine appointment. I do believe it was not a coincidence. So you see, Pastor Kamil, how special is the Burnt Mills Church and the Deaf Church to you and to Globe. So to finish the rest of the story, Pastor Kamil's mother was a strong Adventist. His grandfather was not an Adventist, but a devout minister, preaching the gospel in communist Czechoslovakia, not paying attention to the local authorities' threats to put them in prison, to even to the point of death. Because for them, it was more important that these people learn about the message, no matter what happened to them. So you see, he comes from a long line of people who can stand up against powerful governments for the preaching of the gospel. And miraculously, during these years, God protected them and used their witness to influence and convert some of the communist officials. So this afternoon, we are happy that he's here with us. Today, he serves as the GLOW International Coordinator and Literature Ministries Director of the Michigan Conference. He and his wife, Annette, have 2 children, Rebecca and Micah. This afternoon, he's going to be talking about Mission 365, and he will explain the rest to us this afternoon. Welcome, Pastor Kamil.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I move a little bit towards you?
Absolutely.
It's nice to see you here. You will probably notice the way I speak that I have an accent. Can you tell by looking at my lips that I have an accent?
Nope.
No? I thought the way I open my mouth, you could figure out that I'm not from around here.
Well, maybe, certain words.
Yeah.
The other person saying no. It's actually more about your facial expressions than it is about your accent.
Ah. Okay.
But deaf people do have accents as well in their hands, the way they sign.
Oh, wow. Well, I do have one problem. And that is that when I first meet people, they think I'm very serious. When first people look at my face, they say, wow, he's serious, he never smiles. When I was a teenager, I was a stand-up comedian. And though I may look serious, I like to have fun too. So let's go into our presentation today. I shared these little Christian tracts called Glow Tracts. And as I travel around the world, it's nice to have helpers. For example, when I preach, I may have someone standing next to me holding the Glow Tracts for me. Somebody maybe a little older, somebody who doesn't have much to do. I'd like to give you an example. I need to turn this on first. I don't know if you can recognize this person. That's Brother Ted Wilson, the General Conference President. We are promoting Glow Tracts in Ukraine together. It's a wonderful experience. Can we turn those lights off? I think that will give us better view of this. And I want to thank all of you for coming. Today, this morning, we talked about every member, how they can use Glow Tracts.
I think it's the lights pointing at the screen.
You can see Brother Wilson there. Somebody older, not as busy.
So they can see the interpreter.
All right, a little technical difficulty here. So we talked about the personal use. This afternoon, I want to look into how different departments at the church can be involved in using literature. Literature is a tool that everyone can use. The health ministries department can use literature. The family ministries department can use literature. The person ministries, the children's ministries, every department can use literature. It can be different kinds of literature geared towards that specific ministries, but we all can use literature. I have been working on a couple projects. One of them was to produce a new Great Controversy, and you can see the picture here. It's a sharing format of the Great Controversy. So this is for the churches to make available to the members who then take it out, share with friends and neighbors and co-workers. We did the Great Controversy, then we did the Desire of Ages. And we try to use different kinds of paper so it doesn't look as thick. Because when people look at thick book, they say, oh, that's lots of reading. This is still lots of reading, it just doesn't look that way. So that's the blessing. And then we continued to work on some more titles. So in a few months, you should be able to see more books printed that way. So this morning, we talked about the personal use. And the idea is take it where your daily life takes you. That's the idea. You don't have to go out of the way to share Glow. You just simply go where you go. So if you go in the bank, you take Glow with you. One of my young people just finished working for me as a student literature evangelism. He was a leader of the student literature evangelism program. And then at the end of the summer, he was paid. We sent him a check in the mail. He took the check in the bank. The young lady was trying to deposit the check, and then she noticed the name Seventh-day Adventist, Michigan Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And then she confessed she used to be an Adventist. And he said, oh, we need to study the Bible together. You see, just simply because he went where his daily life takes you, he was able to make the connection and then start the Bible studies as well. And of course, you can share literature in the process as well. Let me say this before I show you that picture. You may say, well, I cannot do much. You know, God is not expecting of us to do something we cannot do, right? God is not expecting of us to preach like Pastor Finley. He is asking us to just simply use the gifts we have, but to use them. But here's a proverb, African proverb. And it says, if you think that you're too small to make a difference, try spending the night with a mosquito. I love that proverb. Have you spent a night with a mosquito before? Can they make a difference with your sleep? They can. So we'll be talking about church departments and how different departments can utilize literature. This will not be an exhaustive seminar. This will just get your brains thinking, okay? Like we will not talk about the health ministries at all, but it will get somebody thinking here about how they can do it. Just to pick on health ministries director here. Sabbath school, I talked about it this morning. He was here during Sabbath school time when I talked about it. Okay, so let me repeat this. I believe this is one of the best ways, one of the most important ways how we can utilize literature in the church, Sabbath school time. Again, we have 4 goals of Sabbath school. Number 1 is the fellowship. We come together to fellowship. Number 2, we focus on world missions. We see the mission spotlight videos, and we read the mission stories like you read about my mother this weekend. Number 3, it's the Bible study. The reason why we have Sabbath school time is because of the small group and the Bible study we have within the small group. But there's a 4th goal, the official goal, which is outreach. Growing up, I was 17 years old, living in Czechoslovakia, and I was part of an adult Sabbath school class. And each week, the teacher would ask us, how did we witness for the Lord that week? And I had something to say. And there was a Sabbath, I had nothing to say. I said, Lord, you need to give me a testimony. I want to be able to say something about how I was able to witness that week. One way we can do that in the local church is by simply asking the church members. So let's just say this is my Sabbath school class, okay? And I'm really good at this, so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's just say we have 2, 4, 6, we have 8 people. That's my Sabbath school class. We began with greeting everybody, how's your week? But then I said, you know what? Let's focus our ministry also on outreach. Let's do something as a group. So we have those new glow tracks. They're wonderful. So it's 8 of us. How about, now it's 9 of us. We have a latecomer who came to Sabbath school. How about 9 of us? We will aim to distribute 90 glow tracks this week. That's 10 glow tracks per member. Can we do that? Is that possible? Yes? Okay, I have a sister saying absolutely. Yes, let's do it. Okay, so now you get your glow tracks. The next Sabbath we come back together and say, so how did it go? And somebody says, well, I had a chance to minister to somebody in the store. Or I talked to my coworker and she was asking about the Sabbath, and I had the glow track that says why I go to church on Saturday. And now people are sharing, and there may be a church member that just kind of forgot about this whole thing, and so they didn't distribute any glow tracks. But they're listening now to the others share. They say, wow, I want to try this. Now we do the count, and we discover that we distributed 60 glow tracks. Not 90, but 60 is better than nothing, right? Just like somebody said, it's better to aim at something and miss it than aim at nothing and hit it. So that's the idea of Sabbath school class and utilizing glow and literature and getting that outreach back into the Sabbath school class. Oh, we have a different preacher. All right. Do you guys see how this can be practical in the Sabbath school class? Now we'll move on. We'll look at every department. So we have Sabbath school, of course. It's part of every department too. But personal ministries time. There's an old minister. He was a publishing director serving 3 world divisions. In his retirement, he was asked to pastor a little church in Michigan that grew from 3 members to around 120 in 10 years. And he said one thing. He said, you cannot grow a local church without having personal ministries time. It's almost like you have your personal ministries time in your Sabbath school class, in a way, right? But then you also have the personal ministries time for the whole church. And I would come and preach in his church from time to time, and I would watch the members during personal ministries time raising their hands and say, I was able to minister for the Lord this week, and they were so excited. Now, there are others who are listening to this, and they say, you know, I didn't witness to anyone this week. But again, the Lord is speaking to them. And they're reminding them, you know what? You need to get back into doing something for the Lord too. So personal ministries time is to encourage us, to strengthen us, but also to challenge us to do something. So what we do is we have something called the Glow Minute, and we really try to keep it under 1 minute. So even the way we tell stories, we try to say it, summarize it, cut the fat, those details. If I'm a culprit, I tell the story, I don't have to say, well, it was a hot summer day, and I was walking down the street, and I was looking up to this big house, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder what the people will be like inside. Okay? Well, you can skip that. You can just say, as I knock on the door's open, I met a lady. You can cut the fat when you tell the story. So Glow Minute. We have personal ministries time, and we include glow stories in them as well. This is what it looks like. So during personal ministries time, of course, we have personal ministries time. But then, at the end of the service, we need to have literature that's available on the way out. Now, let me tell you about one problem with active churches. And that is, when you have visitors who come to your church, they like the fact that you have literature because their church don't. And they clean up your library. They pick up your books. That's a challenge. I hear this all the time in active churches. But, it's so important to have literature available. And, of course, what I would say is don't put in the closet where nobody can find them. Put them where the traffic is. So if this is the way people walk out of the church, you want to make sure that people are, the literature is available on the way out. One way to get young people involved is to make them an assistant for the personal ministries leader. So make them responsible for the GLOW literature, for the literature at large. Just say, hey, I want you to make sure there's always enough literature in the racks. And then as the members are walking out, they will weigh them down and say, hey, did you get some GLOW tracks today? So young people can help with that. We can get them involved. There's a great advice I heard once about engaging our young people in the work, you know. There's this thing about, you know, how do we use young people? The advice I heard that was really practical to me about how the young people should make themselves employable in the church, in the local church, so that they're attractive for the church leaders to use them, is practice the ministry of attendance. What that means is attend prayer meeting, attend Sabbath school, attend church service, attend business meeting, attend. And before too long, the church members will say, did you see that young person? They're attending. We should put them in charge of something. So this is an advice for young people. Ministry of attendance. So here we have a little GLOW rack that has GLOW tracks displayed. This is the church I used to attend. I go to a different church now, but again, you can see lots of booklets, right? You cannot see them, but they're by faith, okay? The booklets right here. You see the GLOW tracks. You see some literature right here. The church members know there is a place on the way out of the church where they can take literature. Here's another one. This is at the Pioneer Memorial Church at Andrews University, a place on the way out of the church where the members knows there are resources. We began to work on a guide. There'll be a resource for the local church. How do you establish a literature resource place? How do you get the racks and some training that will involve a literature ministry? So we're working on it. I'm working on it with the General Conference, and that should be available in a few months. We'll give you good guidance on how to establish a strong literature ministry in your local church. So personal ministry time, very, very important. One way we promote, one of the initiatives we did, and what I'm sharing with you is basically what we do in my conference. We made April the Literature Emphasis Month. So the General Conference has a day, there's a special day for Literature Distribution Day. And I said, that's a great idea, let's make it the whole month. So we made a Literature Emphasis Month where we developed bulletin inserts. We have a quote here, then we have a story with instructions on how they can use GLOW for that week. Now we have a specific focus each week. So the first week was just personal use, just one emphasis on the power of one. Just share one track at a time. The second week was the theme of social media, using technology, like I was sharing during the sermon. And I don't know how many of you had a chance to look at my hotspot and what it says. Okay. So again, you know, it's like a little way, but hey, it's a way, right? Now some people say, no, I would not even mention it. And some people will criticize our methods too. I had a young man in Russia one day, and he said, you know, my method of preaching or sharing is I go on the train and I preach, and then I share literature with others. But he said, but people criticized my method. I said, it's not a good method. And I listened to him. I was thinking to myself, this is not my method either. But I looked at him and I said, unless somebody shows you a better method, stick with what you have. It's like somebody said, you know, in a sports game, there's never a man who's tackled who has no ball. You know, only the athletes with the ball running, they get tackled, right? So only those who are doing something will be criticized because you try something. So keep trying. The third week was the Impact Day. That was the General Conference Day for sharing literature. So we focused on that. We had a story about somebody receiving the Missionary Book of the Year. And the last week was basically a call to do more. Okay, we have done this for 1 month, but let's go beyond this. Let's continue. Called for more. Another way how we have promoted the Glow ministry was through Glowathon. Instead of marathon, it's Glowathon. Instead of 26 miles, it's 26 days of glowing. We had 3 goals. And again, I'm giving you an idea how personal ministries departments do a literature emphasis in the churches. Number 1, the goal is to distribute as many glow tracts as possible. Number 2, we talk about our publishing roots. We get inspired by what the pioneers have done before us, and then we try to find a way for every department of the local church to get involved. Just think about this. Joshua V. Himes made Willie Miller who he was. The reason William Miller was able to preach in places he did is because of this man, Joshua V. Himes, an incredible promoter and publicist for William Miller. Now, Joshua V. Himes is the one who started the publishing work for the Millerites in a way. I know, Miller had something to do with it as well. But it says Himes made many dynamic contributions. Perhaps his greatest was through publications. In February of 1840, without money and a subscription list, he launched the first Adventist periodical, Signs of the Times. You've heard of the magazine before, haven't you? It catapulted Adventism into prominence. Within 4 years, the Advent message was proclaimed in different cities by, and good luck for you right now, Midnight Cry, the Glad Tidings, the Advent Chronicles, the Jubilee Trumpet, the Philadelphia Alarm, the Voice of Elijah, the Southern Midnight Cry, the Western Midnight Cry, the True Midnight Cry, and several others. Listen to this now. Before the great disappointment of October 22, 1844, 8 million copies of Adventist literature found its way to the people and spread the word. 8 million copies in just 4 years. At that time, we had only 20 million people living in the United States. As we look at the history, we get inspired. And we see the pioneers carrying the baton, carrying the responsibility of the publishing work, and then it's passed on to the next generation. And I can just see them with the eyes of faith watching this. And now it's passed on to the next generation, And with the eyes of faith, I'm looking at them, and they are cheering us on. The publishing work was handed over to us now. And what do we do with this? So during Glowathon, we are reminded of the past and of the responsibility to carry this work in the future as well. Part of Glowathon is also keeping track of the glow tracks. And so there's a way to report them, but we have a little glow tracker, little calendar where they record every day how many glow tracks. On the other side, they can write their daily goal. So we try to do something special for the churches where the members can have a special focus, literature. We even have a glow thermometer where they set a goal for those 26 days and then update it every weekend. All right, local church school. We, of course, engaged them. This is a picture. They were part of Glowathon. They set their own goal for those 26 days. And as they were passing out glow tracks during those times, again, you can give them different ideas. We don't have a school here, so let's not spend too much time on this. Youth ministries. Salamite says, young people will do something with their overflowing energies. They have energies. And I'll show you some ideas, and you'll see how much energy they need. Here is one of them. The Pope decided to come to Philadelphia, so did 30 young people with 1 million glow tracts. And they distributed 1 million glow tracts in 10 days. You know what was great is how balanced this was. The Pope came to talk about families, so they had a special glow tracts called Hope for Families. Well, everybody was looking to the Pope as the hope. They point them to Jesus as our only hope. Look at this. This is one of the security lines. Right here, you have to go through security to get on the other side. This is just one of those checkpoints. There were many, many people there. And that day, they walked almost 20 miles. They will do something with their overflowing energies. They will share glow tracts sometimes. Sometime later, there was a Super Bowl in California. And here you can see a couple of young people with a fan. I don't know which team it is. I'm sorry. I'm not big into. Well, I'm going to say this. I had a conversation with our church leaders, and I was pointing to them how out of our 13 full-time ministry directors, I'm a director of my department, and so there's 13 of us. 8 of us are under the age of 45. And I said, we need mentors. We need the union to really step up and really help us grow as leaders. I said, even the best sportsmen need a coach. And I gave the example of LeBron James. Even he has a coach. And I said it's the wrong way. They said, well, no, that's not how you say it. You say it that way. I said, well, sorry, I'm not that good at baseball, so you have to apologize. You know. So that's not every sport that I follow. I mean, I have a general idea. And I know it's basketball, but I just try to get their attention a little bit. So I do not know what team he's part of. And so here are people coming through getting glow tracts. This is the glow tract they were receiving. Sunday is for football. Saturday is for blank. Young people, creative ideas. Young people will do something with their overflowing energies. Here's some kids. They met special forces. They were not scared of these people at all. And again, somebody walked 15 miles that day. And look at the smiling faces when you work for the Lord. So young people, get them to work. Here's a great story. This happened at GYC a couple years ago. GYC leaders went out to the field as well a little bit later. So my friend David and Taylor, they're both from Michigan. They begin to work on this one street. Inside her home was a woman who suddenly something was telling her to quiet down. It was noisy in the house, and something was telling her, quiet down. So she quieted down, and at that moment, she heard a knock at the door. But by the time she opened the door, David was gone. Seeing his retreating figure, she quickly called him back. David began to share glow tracts with her. He was telling her what they can do for her, and then she says, are you a Jehovah's Witness? And he said, no, I'm not. And then she said, I have chills right now. She says, last night I had a dream. And in the dream, God was speaking to me. She said, God was telling her that 2 ministers of the gospel will come to her door with literature. In the dream, she also saw this will be her last warning. She will not be given another chance. So as she sees the literature, he's getting her attention because she wants to know exactly what the message is. The problem is that David was alone at the door. And in the dream, she saw 2 ministers of the gospel. Taylor was working on the other side of the street when suddenly he ran out of glow tracts. So he was thinking to himself, what should I do now? He said, hey, I can get glow tracts from David. So he ran over to ask David for more glow tracts, not knowing that woman saw in the dream 2 ministers of the gospel. And so those 2 ministers of the gospel ministered, and she signed up for Bible studies. You know, God will do that. God will work through people to be able to receive us. We have stories in the canvassing work where we have people on their knees praying, Lord, I'm going to start, I need to improve my spiritual life. Send someone to my door, and then they get out of the knees and somebody knock on the door. God does that. By the way, how long can you last as a translator usually at a time?
We usually switch every 20 minutes.
Every 20 minutes, okay. So it's same as when you do simultaneous translation. I love doing that. I speak Czech, and so I like to do that too. I don't use my hands for that. Here is another example of youth ministry. Perhaps you have heard of a Sabbath sofa, which simply means you place a comfortable seat somewhere in the center of the city, and then you invite people to take a break. And then you talk to them about the idea of taking a break during the week. We talked to them about the idea of taking 24 hours in a week. We say, just imagine, you could take 24 hours a week. 24 hours off during the week. And they listen to this idea and they say, wow, that sounds like heaven. And we say, well, that's reality. We talked to them about the Sabbath. And here you can see my friend Michelle holding a glow track in her hand. It's called the Return to Rest. So she's holding that glow track, Return to Rest. And after the conversation, she shares with him the beautiful message of the Sabbath. Now, Halloween, you know, we have different holidays. Christmas time is a wonderful time to be sharing Jesus with people. In our home, we try to focus on it's not so much about you receiving a gift, it's more about you doing something for others. So we tell our children, your Christmas money will be spent on somebody else. And we take the Adra magazine and we pick projects, or we find out about the needy family in the community and we buy something for them. Of course, we use literature as well. Easter, 4th of July, and Halloween. This is a young man, pastor's son. He's eating ice cream. You can see the ice cream. You cannot see his face, but you can see his ice cream. And he's really chill here, just handing a glow track to someone here. Now, Pathfinders in Oshkosh. You know, kids are raising money for Oshkosh right now. And they will do all kinds of stuff. They will bike. We call it bike-a-thon. And they will walk, and we call it walk-a-thon. And they will run, and they will do all kinds of stuff. And then you sponsor them to go to Oshkosh. So we have something called Glow-a-thon for them, too. And the idea is that a church member will come in, let's say they will say, I will give $50 towards your Oshkosh trip when you pass out 500 glow tracks. So just like walk-a-thon, they will have to accomplish something, but it's mission-driven. So little ideas like that when we involve every age group. But children ministries, this is one of their favorite ways. I know my health ministries director will love this. We put candy with glow tracks. You see the word hurting, you think of candy, or your tooth will be hurting. So here you can see different packages where children put packages together and they go to a special event. Let's say there's some kind of fair happening in the city, and you put packages together with things that they can use, and you always include literature as well. This one obviously is during Christmas time, and because this one is a Christmas tract. So here you can see there's a bubble right here, and it says, Jesus' love is bubbling over for you. Or here you see berries right here. It says, Jesus loves you very, very much. So, you know, let's be creative. Let's use different ways how we can share literature with others. And here you can see a girl smiling. People have even included like $1 and give a glow track with it. And then we have outreach. And I think I mentioned that to you. Maybe I didn't, but the main purpose of sharing Glow is not outreach. The main purpose of Glow or literature is to use it every day. So every day, you use it as a lifestyle. But of course, it's great to use for outreach as well. When it comes to outreach, let's say you do surveys, it's always nice to be able to associate with a ministry that people will recognize. So if you come to the door and you say, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, there's a good chance that they will say no to you. Sometimes because they don't know who you are and they hear Seventh Day, a Latter-day, they get confused sometimes. But sadly, the name Seventh-day Adventist doesn't have the best reputation in our communities. They did a survey one time, and the most recognized brand in the United States, that was a number of years ago, was the Blue Bible Story books. So people recognize the Blue Bible Story books. So if I was going door to door, and with call porters, that's what we do, we tell them we are with the Blue Bible Story books. And that's positive. That's very positive. And so when we do outreach, we do want to associate with something positive. Like some time ago, I was in Australia, we went door to door. Oh man, they were like, oh, you want to use the word Adventist. That's going to open some doors for you. I'm like, wow, it's so different. Because they had a Sydney Adventist hospital. And it was, people were very responsive to this. We said, we are Adventists. I'm like, oh yeah, I was born in the Sydney Adventist hospital. So my recommendation to you as you do outreach, try to find a positive brand that you can kind of hide behind. If it's Hope Channel, use Hope Channel. If you have, some ministry, and sadly, the self-supporting ministries actually have sometimes better reputation than our official brands, like Amazing Facts. Like if there's one minister the communities recognize more than any other, it's Doug Batchelor. It's pretty amazing. 3ABN, same thing. People recognize 3ABN more so than Hope Channel. So we as a church need to do a better job in establishing a brand, because that will help our local churches as we go do outreach. Because we can do surveys on behalf of Hope Channel and the community, trying to find out their interests. So another way how we can do this is through outreach. But of course, there's family ministries. Public campus ministries is a huge one too. We have young people ministering on public university campuses. And so we want to have specialized glow tracks for them. There was a young lady who heard about glow tracks, and she kind of felt challenged by that as well. And she said, okay, I'm going to do something. She went to school and she was scared. What do you do when you're scared? You just leave the glow track and walk away. You don't talk to anybody. And that's what she did. She took a glow track that was, it was entitled Restoration of Morality. And the subject was about relativism. Okay? Relativism is a theory where you believe in, what's the word for, there is not ultimate truth, or what's the word? Absolute truth. There's no absolute truth. That means what you believe as a truth, or what may be right for you may not be right for me. Okay? And of course, the problem with that theory is that even the theory of relativism could be relative itself. That's the problem. But she was sharing those glow tracks all over the campus. She came early to her class and left that glow track on the desk of every student and even the professor's desk. Then she just sat down and the students arrived, and then the professor walked in. The professor walked straight to the marker board and wrote one word: relativism. That was the subject of the class that day. And then he says, he comes to his desk, he says, I've seen these all over campus, and I see that all of you have one. Let's go and read it together now. And she was blown away just by seeing how God has used her that day as they read the glow track about relativism. By the way, for those who know Justin Kim, he's the one who wrote that tract for us. Anyway, so you have street ministries. Just the last couple of weeks, I was out with young people feeding the homeless, and we were sharing glow tracks with them. And as I watched, I was thinking, we go and feed them. We brought food to them. And I told the leader, I said, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could just eat with them? So often we come and feed the homeless, or we watch them eat, but there's nothing like sharing from the same pot and now we are eating together. Isn't that what Jesus would do? He would not just feed you. He would sup with you, eat with you. Nursing home ministries. Now, of course, you got an issue here. The tracts are too small to read. Right? What's the answer to this? Well, let me illustrate by a story. There was a Russian man who was converted while living in the United States. This was during Ellen White's time. So when he learned about the message, he said, I want to go back as a missionary back to Russia. But the General Conference would not think that was a good idea. He was in his 80s, he stuttered, and he had a poor eyesight. But he really felt burdened for his people back in Crimea. And so he decided to go on his own. It was illegal to witness to others. And this is the method he used. He went to the marketplace. He would sit down next to someone and say, I cannot see well. Would you be willing to read this for me? And as they would read this for him, he was watching them. And as he would see they're interested, he would say, why don't you keep it? One method, how we can share that in nursing home. We can have the nurse read it for the patient and win both of them. Amen? Media and technology, it's such a huge thing. I was in Thailand a couple of years ago. I was on the city train, and the train was packed with people. It was about 90% of them were on smartphones. We somehow need to respond to them and be able to share the message through social media as well. So on our website, we had, or we still have, social media icons where they can go and you can click on Facebook, and then it will open up on your Facebook and you can share it with others. And then at the end of, so this is the article. You can read the glow track on the website, and then at the end of the article it would say free Bible studies right here, or related tracks. So that means if they like this one, hey, they will like this one as well. So we did this, and we just finished building the website. We had around 20 visits to our website per day. And then one day we decided to post the Sabbath glow track on our Facebook page. The first day we had 250 visits to our website. Now I didn't make the connection. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. The next day was 1,500 people coming to our website. Then it was 2,500. And then it shoot up to 6,500 the next day. We had an issue because of the increased traffic and something else. Somebody hacked into our conference server, and so it was crashing our website down. They didn't know what was happening, so they restarted. So for hours, our website was down, and it would produce 6,000 visits per day. By the end of the week, in 7 days, we ended up with 60,000 visits to our website. And it was simply because church members were excited about sharing the glow track on social media. That's the only way how we got the word out. We ended up with 150 requests for Bible studies. There was a man who was attending the seminary somewhere down in Texas. And he said, I have been introduced to the teaching of the Sabbath, but I just finished reading your tract, your information on the website, and now I made the decision to keep the Sabbath. It didn't cost us anything. It just simply, we shared and others shared. So we can utilize social media to do that. We also have a Sharing Hope. This is an app called Sharing Hope. It's developed by the General Conference, and you can share books with people. You can share sections of the books. You can also share glow tracks as well. It's called Sharing Hope. So if you go on your smartphone and type in Sharing Hope, you will be able to see this icon right here. Okay? But why not change your Wi-Fi network in your house or on your phone to something evangelistic? We talked about it. So here's one example. So here goes my iPhone. I go to settings, general, about, and then name. Typically it will say iPhone. It will say Kamil's iPhone. But I changed it. In my case, it says visit glowcentral.org. We have also special BibleStudyOffer.com website where people can sign up for Bible studies, and so you can utilize different things. In fact, this is my friend's. I told him about it, so he changed it already. And then this is how it shows up. So when you look at all the different Wi-Fi options in your area, then you can see this right here. Visit glowcentral.org. In closing, I want to share with you a story. And the story is about a woman in Texas. Again, it happened around 2012, 2013. This lady was attending evangelistic meetings, and as you can imagine, there were some things that were new to her. She has never heard of some of those things. And so she kind of wondered, should I go back to those prophecy meetings? That night she prayed that God would somehow show her whether she should go or not. She went to bed. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning when she woke up, and she walked up to her library in her home and pulled out one book. The book was entitled The Great Controversy. And she reached out and pulled another book, and she put it on the table. Then she opened the Great Controversy and opened to a chapter about the Sabbath. She read that chapter. Then she opened the second book and opened a chapter about the Sabbath as well. And she read that as well. She believed that was kind of a way for God to say, come back to the meeting. So she did. And that evening, the pastor preached about something very special. You can only imagine what it was. It was a special presentation about the Sabbath. And she made the decision that she wants to keep the Sabbath, and she was baptized. God could not use literature that was not placed in her home. God can only use literature that we share with others. Again, I said it earlier today, we are impacted by what we read. I love to read because I get ideas. I love to come up with new ideas, and I come up with ideas when I read. I like to read the history of our church and see how they wrestle with different evangelistic ideas, because I see they wrestle, we must wrestle as well. We have to come up with ways how we can get the health message out. And you know, I'm just picking on somebody right now, but it's true. We need to wrestle with those ideas. We cannot expect this will be handed off to us easily. We have great principles in books like Christian Service and Gospel Workers and Evangelism, great principles. But it's not outlined exactly step by step for us. We still have to use our brains to know how to do this. Let me give you an example. J. and Andrews went to Europe. He was the first official missionary for Europe. He was in Switzerland. One day, there was a beggar who came from Germany into Switzerland. And so the Adventists, they said, hey, let's help him. You know, they had a burden for sharing the message, so they would share the message with him as well. And so they were telling him about the Sabbath message. He said, well, I know about the Sabbath message. I've learned that from so-and-so in Germany. They said, wow, can you tell us where it was and who that was? And so J. and Andrews and somebody else traveled together to Germany, and they met with this lay pastor who kept the Sabbath and who was also a colporteur. He was his version of colporteur. He was sharing literature with others. Now, you can imagine this man has done work in the area. And now they're probably believers in the area. They may believe in the Sabbath message. How do you find out? So what they did is they posted a notice in their local newspaper. Anybody that believes in the seventh-day Sabbath, please come and meet us in this public hall on such a date. A number of them came and they were baptized. Now, we have done so much sowing through Hope Channel and through the different ministries and through literature evangelism, and there are people in our communities who believe in what we believe. The question is, how do we find them, right? I mean, that's a big question for us as a church to answer. One of the things I'm excited about is our radio ministry, because that's one that preaches to people all the time. And I believe that's one way how people can find us. They're sitting at home, they believe in the message because 10 years ago somebody gave them the great controversy. But they just don't know that somebody else believes the same way. They think they're the only ones. And now they tune into the radio station and they learn there is a church close by. I pastor a little church. I do a few things right now. I'm in school, graduate school right now. I oversee Glow Ministry for the World Field. I'm a publishing director in Michigan, and I'm also a pastor. I'm also a husband and a father, and you can imagine I'm probably bad at everything I do, because how can you do all of these things, right? But in our local little church, there was a lady who showed up in our church one day. And we get excited because it's a small church. Every time we have somebody new, we get excited. Well, I was out of town. I was preaching somewhere else, but my wife was there. And so she made friends with the young lady, and she took her over to her house, and they spent around 4 hours talking together. You see, discipleship happens in our homes. And then we learned the story. This young lady was atheist. And one day she got in her car and turned the engine on, and the radio station came on. It was a religious talk. No way. She liked the radio, listened to radio, but not religious stuff. So she turned away from something else. The next time she got in the car, she turned the engine on and again went back to our Adventist radio station that we have in our area. She's like, no way. She turned away. It kept going like that every time she started the car. When suddenly, it was a question and answer time with Doug Batchelor. And he was just going to answer a question she always wondered about. She began to listen, and she couldn't stop. The next time we saw her was with her Bible, walking into our church as a Christian. You know? I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how different ministries will do amazing work for us. So literature ministry and health ministry and radio station, TV station, but somehow we need to find a way to find those people in the communities. We know we have to do it, but we have to come with some creative ways, just like the pioneers had to wrestle with that as well. I think I'm done with everything I want to tell you. I hope that something will stick with you. Number one, that you will all use Glow Tracks on a daily basis. That's number one. I hope, number two, that you will, if you are a church leader, if you are a leader of a department, you will start thinking about how to implement literature ministry in your department. I hope your Sabbath school classes will implement the outreach aspect as well. But also, I want to give you time to ask questions.
Okay, we wanted to know about your friend who got put in the jail.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, as I was speaking, I was thinking to myself, I'm done. But I thought there was something else I want to say. And I'm glad you asked that question. So one more story. So the local church was doing outreach. They went to a garage. It was in a shopping center. They went to a garage, and they were just going to leave Glow Tracks on the door handles. Now you can imagine, as the security people were looking through the cameras, what they saw. They saw people going to the front doors, to the driver's side, doors, and in their minds they're like, they're trying to see if the cars are open. They are thieves. So my friend was doing that, and suddenly, at one moment, there were several men right next to him. Before he knew it, he was handcuffed. I think he was like this. I think he said it was like this. Very uncomfortable, by the way. And then he just motioned, and the people said, we know exactly what you're doing. You're trying to see if the cars are open. We caught you. And then he motioned him like, look at the door handle. Look at the door handle. And he looks at, the security looks at it like, oh, yeah, I've seen that. That's great. And my friend, and he said, do you have any more? And my friend said, if you let me go, I have some in my pocket, but it's hard to reach right now. So they let him go. You know, you can have fun doing the work for the Lord, amen? Even being arrested in California sometime. So, all right, let's see if there are any questions. We don't want to make it too long, but any questions? And by the way, it's been good fellowshipping with you. Growing up, you know, we would go to church in the morning and leave in the late afternoon.
I have a question over here.
Yes.
What was the card that your friend put on the door? From the jail story? What was the thing that he put on the door, on the car door?
It was one of those glow tracks.
So it was that one. Where did he put it on the car exactly?
Yeah, he put it on the driver's side on the door handle. He doesn't put it on the windshield. He put it only on the driver's side of the door handle because people will have to take this out before they can get in the car. We try to make it as easy, as accessible for people to receive the message.
What about explaining with the little details on how to get the tracks?
Typically, the local church will order those. Sometimes the members themselves, they have a burden for this ministry, so they just simply go to the website that's on the glow track. We have a phone number and a website. People can go directly to the website or call the phone number, and it will come to our office, and they can order glow tracks. So the members buy it sometimes, the church buys it. Now, if you get really active and start sharing lots of literature, they will run out of evangelism fund, and they will have to make a special call to put more funds in evangelism. But I think it's exciting when you're running out of money because you're doing so much evangelism, right?
Is there a different price for different amount of bundles?
No, they're all priced in a way so everybody can afford it. The way we have it priced is you get 100, so a pack of 100 of one kind. Then we have another bundle where you have 10 titles together, so there's 10 of each. So there's 100 altogether, 10 of 10 titles. So they're bundled that way. But local church, typically, they can use the bundle of one title, a pack of 100. Yeah. And then, of course, you want to use these little baggies, which we have extras, by the way. And because the tracks don't get damaged when you do that. If you just put the glow tracks in your pocket, they will get damaged. But if you put them in the bag, they will not get damaged. And the cool thing is there's a little hole inside, so the air never stays in. I order them 40,000 at a time. And one time they called me. They said, "Hey, by the way, we're ready to ship this to you, but is it okay if we send you, because we are out of the ones with the hole, can we just send you one without the hole?" I'm like, no, we need it, so we don't have to worry about getting the air out. It comes out naturally. Okay? They are available at the ABC, that's right, at the Living Well. Yep, that's a good point. Yep. Okay. Is she good at translating? Yeah? Okay, very good. There's a question. Good question. What are the best tracks to use, right? You ask different person, they will tell you different answer. I think it has to do with the passion we have. I would say use the ones you have read yourself. We have devotional type tracts, salvational. But then we have doctrinal ones. I have a friend who says he always shares a doctrinal with devotional together. We have a wonderful Sabbath message. I mean, imagine we have a day where we take time off. Fellowship, it's a wonderful, wonderful message the world needs, right?
Could you go over the 10 titles?
Oh, can I? Yeah, I can go over the 10 titles, yeah. So this one is called Steps to Health. This one is on New Start. So those eight ways how to stay healthy: nutrition, exercise, sunshine, stuff like that. The second one is called Is There Hope for the Future? This one is about the second coming. The next one is called A Gift for You. This one is about salvation. Secrets of Mental Health. This one covers things like diet, media, and other things that will help. If you avoid certain things, will help you to be sharper in your mind. Really good one. Certainty in an uncertain world. This one talks about hope. How everyone needs hope. This is Mark Finley's. You know, Mark, when he writes, he speaks to the heart. You know that, right? What is Jesus doing now? This one is about the judgment. What he's doing right now. Actually, I want to say this one last. Talking with God. This one is taken from Steps to Christ. It's about prayer. Am I good enough? Again, it's finding your worth in Jesus. And then the last one here is called Intelligent Faith. And this one is about Daniel 2. Now, every time I show you different tracks, stories are popping up in my mind. Can I tell you one more story? So there was this Adventist guy working in the military. Okay, they were somewhere in the desert. How to say it? Not desert. Desert. Stop thinking about food. Stop thinking about Indian food. Desert. He was in desert for some exercises. And he noticed there was another soldier reading his Bible. And he just walked over without telling him, and he observed that he was in the book of Revelation. He didn't say anything. The next day, he came over to him and said, "Hey, I've noticed that you were reading the Bible." He said, "Yeah, but you know, the book of Revelation is so confusing." He said, "Really, I love the book of Revelation. And Daniel too." And so they got together. And they had a little Bible study together. They opened up Daniel 2 and they started to study together. And as he was explaining to him the image, suddenly some kind of commanding officer was passing by. He overheard their conversation. And he said, "Hey, here's something that may be helpful to you." And he pulls out this glow track out of his wallet and gives it to them. This man was not a Seventh-day Adventist, but he said, "Somebody gave it to me, and I found it very interesting, so I kept it with me." So imagine this, a commanding officer is assisting a Seventh-day Adventist soldier with his Bible study by giving him a glow track that he received some time ago. You know, we just never know how our tracks will be put to use sometime. There's another story where a minister from Africa received a glow track about hell. It was entitled, "Is There Hell?" He read it, and then he was officiating a funeral there in Africa and preaching from the tract itself. So the Lord is going to he's using literature right now. He will use literature in a mighty way in the future. Okay. I'm sorry? Do we have, I don't know, we have some tracks, but I don't know. I mean, it's like this. We have these baggies, clear baggies, and then we have some of these, but they're not put together yet. So they are? Or? We don't have the packets ready, so see Sister Hepsi, okay? Because you gotta have equipment, right? missionary equipment. Is there a question again?
I'm curious, what that track, I wonder the level of,
The reading level?
yeah, so I wonder how you would translate that depending on the reading level that someone may have.
We try to keep it at, I believe, at 6th grade level. So pretty easy reading. I do have to say, some tracks are a little bit faster. It could be that the reading level is lower, but it's packed with information. So you cannot just read it all through, you cannot just read it in one setting. You have to stop, think about it, look at the Bible verse. But we do try to keep it on the simpler side. Okay?
If I might add, when you go on the website, there's the 10 tracks, but there's a lot more tracks than that. And you can read each and every track.
Yes.
Order them, so you know exactly what it is.
Yes, we have about 40 different titles. But if you are new at this, it's confusing. It's hard to know which out of the 40 tracks to share. I don't think I ever answered that question, though, which track to use. People tell me, people will come and say, there is a track entitled, there's a track about the righteousness of Christ entitled, What the World Needs Now. And somebody told me, this is my favorite tract. Somebody else will come and say, The Intelligent Faith is my favorite tract. I just think the prophecy, that prophecy presentation is amazing. You see, it's the one that they have read themselves that become their personal. So I would encourage you to read those tracts so they can become personal to yourself. But as I said before, try to put one doctrinal with devotional together. Something that will introduce them to Jesus, and then something will introduce them to Jesus' teachings. But my favorite one is Why I Go to Church on Saturday. It's so good, so well written. It was written by a conference president by the name Gary Gibbs, and he did an excellent job with that. Yep. Back. Oh, still here? And then we have a hand over there. And then just tell me it's time to quit, okay? Okay. Okay.
But when it comes to choosing the right track, probably we can allow the Holy Spirit to lead the whole way.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So there's another level of asking that question. What's the best tract? What do they need right now? We don't know. There are stories we hear about people who would pull out, like Andy shared glow track with them. They reach in their pocket, they pull out a glow track, and they say, "Oh no, that's not the one I want to give to them." But they're already in the motion, and they give it to them, and they were like, "That's exactly. How did you know?" So again, you read different ideas in the Christian Service and other books. And it talks about how really we don't know. Oftentimes this is Ellen White writing. Ellen White is writing this. She says, in our erring judgment, we think not to give a tract to someone or gift tract, this kind of tract, and we just don't know. So we need to pray for God's guidance. But again, there's nothing like having personal testimony that attaches with that glow tract. Yeah. There is. I'm going to share. I'm going to take your question, but let me share with you another quote. I wish I had this to show you right now, but again, Ellen White is writing about how there will be people who will receive our books, and they will take a mental photograph of the face, of the manner in which the tract was given. They will remember the situation, the way we did it. And she says, in a large way, this will play a role in them receiving or rejecting what they're reading. That is pretty powerful idea. Yeah, I got a question here.
You mentioned something about a partnership with the General Conference in Glow. Is it something separate from what you already shared with us about the different days? And what would that mean to the local churches? I'm one of the Sabbath school superintendents, not for this church, but for another Adventist church. And I'm wondering what that means to local churches in terms of, would that effort be something that personal ministries would handle, or is it for the larger membership or Sabbath school?
Yeah. So let me give you a little background. The Glow Ministry started with one young man praying and reading books. It became a conference-based program. And then other conferences began to join. My conference was the second conference to adopt the Glow program. And then different conferences around the world would start adopting this project. Then they asked me to oversee this project for the world expansion. The first thing I did is I began to work with the General Conference. Say, let's work together. So it was officially adopted as the General Conference project. As we began to explore more options, then Nelson, who started Glow, and I were in Russia. And we were talking about some of the things we do in our conferences, and one of them is the daily use of Glow. So we said, why don't we come with an initiative and then introduce it to the General Conference? And so as we were sitting in Russia in our bedroom, we're talking about this. I said, it should be something that has to do with mission. And he said, 365. And that's how the idea of Mission 365 was born. That was an initiative that was started last year. It was for the year 2017. And the General Conference decided we'll continue. So it's not like an official initiative where you have, this is the starting point, this is the ending point. Right now, it is an ongoing initiative, getting every member involved in daily distribution of books and tracts. As far as, do we have any specific dates? The only date that I know of is in April. That's usually third Sabbath in April. It's called Impact Day. And we take the sharing book of the year, missionary book of the year, and it's used for distribution. So the goal is for every church to go on the outreach and distribute that book. But it is of course not adopted by many churches. It is in South America and Inter-America and Africa and other places, but not so much in the United States. What we have seen though with some of the leaders in different church levels is there was so much focused on the outreach, not enough emphasis on the daily use. And that's what I believe Nelson, who started Glow, made a big contribution to our church at large. But the emphasis of using literature on daily basis. Because if you have outreach and you have daily use, Ellen White says, the daily use is more important than the outreach. We need both. So as far as dates, there's nothing going on. And that is our challenge too. In fact, on Monday, in my conference, we have all-day meeting. And I told my president, I said, one of the things I'd like to discuss is how do we take our initiative and make sure that every church understands this, and even how do we come up with an initiative that they will want? Because oftentimes, you may get initiative from the General Conference. It comes down to the division, comes to the union, the conference, and the local church, and the chance it will get to the local church is very low. So we have to figure out a way how we can funnel that down to the local church and make sure it's a practical initiative that the churches can use in an easy way. So you find that challenging too, right, Angie? Yeah. And when it comes to sharing literature, we join publishing department and personal ministries department. Those two, we want them to be involved in literature distribution at the local church level. So, Okay, there's a hand. I don't think so, no. You would have to call my Glow office to get this. That one is not for giving away to others. It's for inspiration. So she's asking about the Open Door book that I wrote. That is stories of our young people working for God. And we actually, my office sells the Glow tracks to the Living Well. So I can tell them there's some interest in getting that Open Door book, and they may actually get it for you as well. It may not be yet. Yeah, I don't know. Or we may just send a bunch to you guys. I know the General Conference Publishing Department, they have a box that I am storing there. They have my books there, the Open Door books, so they have it there. So if some... I'm sorry?
Would they give it to us if we call them?
It probably would be better if somebody who maybe works there or is familiar with the GC would go and talk to them about it. Is anybody working at the GC here? Yeah, we have somebody working at the GC. Yeah. Do you attend this church? No. Okay, so never mind. What brings you here, though? Fellowship. Yes. Yep. That's right. It's right in the storage room. When you walk in the storage room and you keep walking, you come to the wall. Right there on the right are my books. Get 10, okay? And consider that a gift from me. You're welcome. By the way, here's my philosophy. Yeah. By the way, here's my philosophy. I will not do something for others I'm not willing to do for my wife. That is my philosophy. I want to be nice to people, but I want to be nicer to my wife. That's my philosophy. So when I hear this, oh, he's so nice, I'm just letting you know, I would not do this to you if I was not willing to do something more for my wife. Amen. Okay. Let me tell you one more story, just, okay? Because we've got 1 minute left. There was husband and wife working in the garden. They had a wooden fence outside of the garden. They heard the trash truck coming by collecting the trash. The man approached the what do you call it, the container, but there was a book on top of the container. He took that heavy book and he just threw it over the fence. And it hit the husband on his head. They could hear the truck, keep going. You can imagine the husband was not too happy about this. He looked at the book and it read, Bible readings for the home. They brought it home. They began to study the Bible, the book. It was a fascinating book to them. It was sometime later, a flyer came in the mail for evangelistic meetings. They were interested in the Bible, and so they went to the meetings. But the preacher was preaching some new stuff they have never heard before. And they said, we will never accept this unless we check it with our book. So they would attend the evangelistic meetings, come home, and then study the Bible readings. And they saw that the preacher was right on. And they were baptized. Because of a book that was thrown over the fence and hit the husband in his head. All right, I want to thank you. You were a great company.
He said maybe that's how we should start sharing the word.
Yeah? All right, well, it is not my recommendation.
People think it's coming from heaven directly.
Yeah. Yep. So, Okay, what do we do? Do we pray? No, it's 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock? Okay, let me just,
We shouldn't wear the saints, huh?
let me just say a few words. And then
Yes.
we have closing prayer. In the world can extinguish the light of a single candle. You can shut all the lights out, put a little light somewhere, just a little glimmer. You can find your way right all the time. May your glow tracks, no darkness, all the darkness ever extinguished. May it grow and grow and lead more people. And I just want to thank all of you. And one thing else, where's the mic? Is this the one?
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. And one thing I wanted to say, there was a lot of discussion about what are the right tracks and all that. Put some in your pocket and ask the Lord. I don't know, but this is my passion. He will direct you. And the best part is when you've done that, and this is the glow, I think, that comes. To think that God up in heaven sees 1 million people, he sees one person who has a desire, and he picks you to go and give that particular need. I mean, it just makes you feel like $1 million and you glow with the glow tracks. So that is something I think it's a worthwhile experience to get involved in that. And I just want to take a minute to thank all the departments of the Burnt Mills Church. This is definitely a sort of a collaboration. Personal ministries, audiovisual, every ministry, women's ministries. And I just want to thank everybody that we have so many people for an afternoon session. And that has been a lot of prayer going, a lot of pulling together. Of course, your presentation, which is, I think, very inspiring. So I just want to thank you all of that. And have just a little gift. Not much of a gift, but we have, let me get it. 2 little books. I know as a conference worker, I'm sure you have access to all kinds of books that they'll give you, I think, I hope. But, but I have 2 little books that have inspired some of us. Small books, but sometimes it's not the cost or the price, but really how it would touch. One is called Authentic. I don't know if you've seen that book.
I would have to see the cover.
Okay. I think they're both in here. One is a book called Authentic that challenges you.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this book.
You've seen the book.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a copy?
I don't have a copy, no.
You who? You do?
I have a copy now.
Oh, okay, all right, good. You see, it was the right choice then. It's sort of to examine yourself critically and analyze yourself. Are you real or are you fake? And I think that is, I'm not saying that you need it, but you might need it to help somebody.
No.
Okay?
We need it. We need it.
And the other one is God's Healing Way. How many of you have seen this? Okay, this is written by Marianne McNeilis, MD. I read this book maybe about 10 years ago, put it aside, and recently I was impressed to pick it up. And you know, when you read it, our health message, I don't believe any of us are following our health message. God has given us such a beautiful health message to call us to the highest state that He wants us to be, because we are the temple of the Holy Ghost. And we're also the forerunners for the second coming of Jesus Christ, following in the footsteps of John the Baptist, who ate locusts and honey. Can you go and talk to John the Baptist and say, tell come on, John, 1 day a week, can you break your fast? Eating the same thing? But if we have to stick and get ready and carry out our calling, we have to be into that state where Ellen White says that the devil tried to tempt John the Baptist, but he could not find a foothold.
Wow.
He could not find a foothold. That's the light that Ellen White and God is calling us to. And this, I believe, is very powerful, some of the quotes. And some of us have been impressed with this. Maybe you've seen it, maybe not, but we wanted you
I have seen it, and I now have a copy too.
There you go. Okay. So I just want to thank you again so much. You've started a little fire, and I hope that this fire will continue. This will spread.
God's healing way.
God's healing way. Okay? So I want to thank all of you for staying, and I hope all your questions are answered. If you want to stay, that will be fine. And then I'm going to ask Pastor Victor Singh, who is our pastor here, to come and have the closing prayer. Our pastor would have loved to be here, and he was planning for this. And last week he said, "You're not going to forgive me, but I won't be there." I said, "Yes, you're right, I'm not going to forgive you." But he had to drive all the way to his previous church to do a baby dedication of somebody, and they wouldn't forgive him if he did not go. So it was, a fair exchange. But we're expecting him to come back and then see what we have done. And we just want to thank him, even though he's not over here. But thank you again so much for blessing us.
It's been great being here.
Okay. Pastor Singh.
Shall we all stand for prayer? Our gracious God, we thank you for this holy Sabbath day. We thank you for the fellowship that we had. We thank you for the message through your servant. We have heard, we have been reignited, re-energized to do your work, to answer to your calling. We think of the great commission that you have given to us, and as we take this message to others, as we take this light to others, help us and bless us and take care of us. We pray, Heavenly Father, that your Holy Spirit will guide each one, those who are here. Today, our friends, our visitors, our members, we all commit ourselves before your throne of grace to do your work. We thank you, Pastor Kamil's life, health, strength, and the message that he has brought to us. We are thankful to you that you brought him to us. You have chosen us from all other parts of the world, from different walks of life. You have brought us here today. Gracious God, we pray that you will use each one of us so that we will bring many souls to your throne of grace. Guide us, bless us, and be with us today and always. In Jesus' name we pray.